and welcome into Pencak Sports Network. Tonight is a Halloween edition, live right from, I don't even know what you want to call it, the backyard, I guess. Forest is lit orange. I think we're pretty good lit. And tonight is a WPIAL bracket show, so we're ready to go over from brackets 1A all the way to 6A, the results from this past Friday, and get you ready for this upcoming Friday of round 2 in classes 1 through 5, and then round 1 in class 6A. Our guest tonight is Robert Pencak, his first appearance this year for the restart of the podcast. This isn't technically a podcast episode, but I guess you can merge into that if you wanted to. But we're ready to start brackets. So if you want to start off with 1A, 1A is a big, important bracket. Out of the 8 games that were played, 4 ended up being upsets. So I'll pass the mic over, and we'll hear scores and updates from those games.
So number 8, Leechburg, faced number 9, Neshannock, and Neshannock destroyed them 49-14 on Leechburg's field. So they're moving on to play Fort Cherry, number 1 seed. The next game, Laurel shut out Jefferson Morgan 35-0. They're the 4 seed. And then Southside actually got upset by Chartiers Houston 26-21. The other side of the bracket, Bentworth hosted Jeanette as a 7-10 seeded game, and Jeanette won 38-24. And then Bishop Canavan's a 3 seed. They beat Greensburg Central 50-35. And Fraser upset number 6 California 27-12. And I have no thoughts on those games because I did not look or read or see any of them. But I was here for predictions. So prediction-wise for this coming Friday, is that the right date? Yeah. All right. Neshannock's going to go to Beaver High School to play Fort Cherry. Fort Cherry, Matt Sieg's their quarterback, was committed to Penn State, but with all the James Franklin stuff, I think he opened his recruiting again, unfortunately, for me, because I'm a Penn State fan. But they've beat every team they've played by 30 points. They won WPIALs last year. That's just Fort Cherry. That's an easy game for them. And then on the other side, the number 2 seeded Clairton takes on Jeanette. They're in the same section. They beat Jeanette a few weeks ago, 57-0. They lost. Clairton lost to Monte Christian. I think it was 27-12 first game of the season. And they've shut out their last 10 opponents. So I think they're averaging. I think they've scored 519 points and given up 0. So Clairton obviously going to win. Jeanette's goal, I would think, would be 1 to score and 2 try to keep it under 50. And then the 3rd seeded Bishop Canavan's taking on Fraser at Cannon Mac High School. Bishop Canavan's gonna beat them. I mean, Fraser's Fraser. And then number 4 Laurel against Char Houston, who upset Southside last week. But Char Houston has lost to Bishop Canavan 32-0 and Fort Cherry 44-14. Laurel's only loss is to Bishop Canavan. So I see them moving on and playing Fort Cherry in the semis. And that's all I have for 1A.
All right, well, we'll actually take a quick break, and we'll be back on the brackets after we go over sponsors here. So, yeah. All right, so our sponsor of tonight's show is, as always, the Selfie Spot AK Valley, servicing the greater Pittsburgh area for all your photo booth needs. The Selfie Spot AK Valley can be your birthdays, grad parties, weddings, school dances, and more. We are a modern-day photo booth, and we can't wait to be at your special day. Mention the Pencak Sports Network for a discount, and go to their website at www.theselfiespot.com for all bookings, info, add-ons, features. It's all right on the website. So that wraps us up for Class 1A. We'll now move into Class 2A, which this bracket went as expected. There was no upsets. Starting off, Seton LaSalle, Western Beaver, and Steel Valley all managed to get the bye, so they did not play this past Friday. Mohawk and Our Lady of the Sacred Heart played on Friday, and Mohawk actually snuck away with the win 17-14, so they'll move on to play Seton LaSalle at Keystone Oaks this Friday. South Allegheny and Waynesburg Central played. South Allegheny ended up destroying WC 61-13. And then finishing off the side of the bracket, Beaver Falls traveled off to Washington and also beat them in blowout fashion 37-8. Those two will face South Allegheny and Washington, and they'll go to Shirley High School. That should be a good matchup. The 4th and 5th seed, too. On the other side of the bracket, Apollo Ridge hosted Riverside, and Apollo Ridge ended up taking it 28-7. So no field goals, just straight touchdowns. Apollo Ridge is set to play Western Beaver at Western Beaver High School. Steel Valley got a bye there. Now, Keystone Oaks traveled off to Elwood City, and Elwood City took the win 35-13. And so Elwood City will play Steel Valley coming off a bye at Campbell Field. All games this Friday on the 7th. So that is score updates for Class 2A, and we'll now switch it over for bracket analyst Rob to get his predictions for this coming week. Or this week.
All right, 2A predictions. 1 seed Seton LaSalle's playing Mohawk at Keystone Oaks Stadium. Seton LaSalle's only loss is the 3A North Catholic, so I'm picking Seton LaSalle. And then South Allegheny, the 4 seed versus Washington, the 5. This one I was up and back and forth with. South Allegheny's only loss is to Steel Valley 33-12, which Steel Valley's the 3rd seed in this bracket. And Washington's losses, they also lost to Steel Valley, and they lost to Seton LaSalle, but that was a 27-14 score. So I am picking the upset, if you want to call it that, on a 4-5, taking Washington. And then the other side of the bracket, Western Beavers only has 1 loss. It was the Mohawk by 20, beginning of the year. I don't have any details on that, unfortunately. They're playing Apollo Ridge. Apollo Ridge, AK Valley, I get it, but I don't see them taking out Western Beaver, so I'm going to pick Western Beaver. And then Steel Valley is the 3rd seed against number 6 Elwood City. Elwood City's only losses are to Neshannock and Western Beaver. And I like Elwood City, so I'm going to pick Elwood City.
All right, and that wraps it up for 2A. A little announcement, I guess. We will return live broadcasts on, I think it's, I don't know what day of the week it is. It's December 2nd. That is going to return with basketball. We'll have the doubleheader, first time ever on the channel. It'll be Sarah Catholic taking on Kiski for the girls, and Butler taking on Kiski for the boys. Both games will be covered right on PSN, so you don't have to worry if you can't make it. We'll now move into Class 3A, which, starting off, Avonworth, Amani Christian, and Central Valley got the bye, the 1, 2, and 3 seeds. I missed Elizabeth Ford. Sorry about that. Elizabeth Ford also got the bye there. So 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll start off with the 8-9 spot, which is the most competitive game out of any bracket. It was Beaver traveling to Freeport. It was a narrow one, 35-27, so a little high scoring. Freeport did win that. So Freeport will play Avonworth at Avonworth High School this Friday. Sorry for the background noise. We are outside. Following that, Burrell traveled off to North Catholic. J.C. Stonefield, that's in the park, right? Yeah. Yep, it's in the park. So North Catholic won that 56-14. So no worries there if you're a Trojans fan. They play Elizabeth Forward this Friday, and then we'll hop to the other side of the bracket, which Amani Christian. They moved on. Sorry, Southmoreland played Hopewell, which was another upset in these brackets. Hopewell won 42-6. So in blowout fashion, they did win. They play Amani Christian at Graham Field. Graham Field. Highlands played Derry. Highlands won at 14-0, so a shutout for the Rams, and they will play Central Valley, which that'll be the 3 and 6 seed, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, 4 games for 3A this week, and we'll see what our bracket analyst Rob says about them.
All right, 3A bracket. Here we go. 1 seed Avonworth hosting Freeport. Avonworth is undefeated. They're going to make easy work of Freeport, so I'm taking Avonworth. Elizabeth Forward is a 4 seed. North Catholic is a 5 seed. It's at Elizabeth Forward. Elizabeth Forward's only loss was the 5A South Fayette, 27-24. Now, South Fayette and 5A did not make the playoffs. They probably should have. They ended up fifth in their division because it's loaded. And they were up for a wild card, but they did not receive that. And then North Catholic has lost to Amani, Central Valley, and Avonworth. So the top 3 seeds. They played Central Valley close, but I'm just picking Elizabeth Forward on that one. And Amani versus Hopewell, that's at the field there in North Park, which is kind of cool. But I have Amani winning that. And then Central Valley's the 3 seed against number 6 Highlands. I did look into this one because Highlands is obviously in our area. But Central has lost 4 times this year, but their first 3 games are non-conference, and they schedule brutal teams to play. So they've lost to Thomas Jefferson, Montour, and Bell Vernon, which are all higher class teams than them. And they also lost to Avonworth 34-6. But Central Valley has been a top 4 team in this classification since that school district was merged. So I'm picking Central Valley on that. That's all I got.
All right, and that wraps up for 3A. So now we move into we are gonna hop to 6A. I like that idea. So 6A, I had no action this week, but I'll read off the bracket here because there's no scores to update you guys on. Number 1 seed went to Central Catholic. Number 2 seed went to North Allegheny. Number 3 seed went to Norwin, and number 4 seed went to Cannon Mac. So yes, it is a small bracket. It's only 4 teams. But yeah, Central, North Allegheny, Norwin, and Cannon Mac.
All right, 6A bracket. Central's the 1 seed, Cannon Mac's 4. Games at West Mifflin because Central doesn't have a home field. They play all over the place. Sometimes it's CMU. Their offensive line is ridiculously big. I think it averages 6'5", almost 300 pounds. I mean, thank the Lord Jesus they don't recruit, right? But I'm picking Central there. And then number 2 NA versus number 3 Norwin. It's at NA earlier in the year because there's only 7 teams, I think, in 6A. So all these have played before. NA squeaked by Norwin at Norwin by 3. But we, as Kiski, played Norwin earlier in the year, and I'm going for an upset with Norwin beating NA.
And whoever wins, again, just goes right to the championship, which is played at Pine Richland. Both 4A and 6A are played there. And then, 1A, 2A, 3A, and 5A all are played at Acroshore, which last year I was going to do a little championship, like play-by-play for both 3A and 5A, but this year I am attending, so that will not happen. We will have a show for for the championship, but that'll be after. We'll now move into 4A. We'll now move into 4A, which this one had a major upset, but we'll save that for last. We'll start off. Number 1, McKeesport hosted Chartiers Valley. McKeesport came out on top in a blowout fashion, 44-7. And then on the bottom side of this, Thomas Jefferson hosted Mars in the 4-5 seed, and Thomas Jefferson won 31-14. They are set to play McKeesport at Chartiers Valley High School, so it is a neutral site. We'll move to Newcastle and Montour, which is the 3 and 6 seed. Newcastle won 14-13, so barely getting by with just 1 point difference. And then the big upset in this bracket was the number 2 Trinity and number 7 Aliquippa. Aliquippa won with 26 seconds left on the clock. It was a Hail Mary touchdown. It was caught, so that makes the final score 21-14. Aliquippa takes it away. The Quips are set to play Newcastle at Elwood City High School this Friday. Whoever wins goes to the championship at Pine Richland.
All right. This was by far the toughest bracket to pick. I mean, it can go. These 4 teams are crazy good. Could go any which way. I will start on the other side with number 7 Aliquippa playing number 3 Newcastle. Games at Elwood City High School, and Newcastle beat Aliquippa head to head 18-12 earlier in the season, but it's hard to pick against Aliquippa. But I'm going to do it and go with Newcastle. I think they're going to. I mean, they are the higher seed. I think Aliquippa was kind of not seeded correctly, but I'm gonna go with Newcastle, which to me I consider that an upset. Other side of the bracket, these teams, they're in the same section. It's a shame they have to. I wouldn't mind seeing this as a championship game, to be honest with you. McKeesport, they've lost 3 times, but they've lost to 5A Peters, 5A Upper St. Clair, and they also lost to Thomas Jefferson 16-7. I think it was like the 3rd game of the year. And I think that Keemon Spell played for McKeesport. He's a running back. He's a junior. He's number 1 ranked running back in the country. Was also a Penn State commit who is now looking at other options. I like their coach, Matt Miller. But then there's Thomas Jefferson, who's always seems like they were in the finals for forever, same like Aliquippa was. And Bill Sherpack still coaching them. Does a phenomenal job. He's probably the best coach in the WPIAL in the last 25 years. They've lost to Avonworth, and they've lost to Trinity, which to me sounds crazy. But I am picking McKeesport solely based off of their running back.
All right, and as we round up on the last bracket, in my personal opinion, my favorite bracket, we will announce that the WPIAL bracket show is what I'm going to call it for this season will return next Monday at 7:30, like this one is currently airing right now at 7:30. So every Monday you can check it out and see all the updates from Friday. Like I said, it is Halloween edition, so the forest is lit nice orange. There's a lot of work to do it, but I think it was pulled off pretty well. It is a little chilly, so this won't happen again until maybe next year, but I thought it was kind of cool to mix it up. So we'll now move into Class 5A, which this was a heck of a bracket. Pine Richland, Peters Township, Woodland Hills, and Penn Trafford all got the bye. So we now move into, where should we start? We'll start at the 5-seeded Moon Tigers and the 12-seeded Armstrong River Hawks. This was out at Moon High School, and Moon took the win 48-21. They are set to play Penn Trafford at Penn Trafford High School. Let's go to the number 6-seeded Upper St. Clair and number 11-seeded Plum. It was at Upper St. Clair High School. Upper St. Clair won 46-8, so again in blowout fashion. They are set to play Woodland Hills down in the Wolverina, which is what a stadium for high school football. Not sure if I'll be attending that game or not, but that'll definitely be a good one. Bethel Park hosted North Hills. This was the 7-seed and 10-seed game. Bethel Park almost shut out North Hills 38-7. So Bethel Park will play Peters Township, which that'll be a interesting one because Peter Township is looking pretty good this year. And then we'll finish it off with the number 8-seeded Shaler Titans and number 9-seeded Kiski Area Cavaliers. We've been following Kiski all season, and they did manage to pull the 9 seed, but did not go that well on Friday. Shaler ended up winning 28-8. So, I mean, you could say all games in the 5A bracket were in blowout fashion, but Kiski definitely closed the gap the most against their opponents. Shaler, though, not an easy task. They go and play the number 1-seeded Pine Richland Rams at the Rams house, so that'll be interesting. But there's your 4 matchups. Probably the most competitive bracket out there, but I still think it'll be a Pine Richland Peters championship.
Alrighty. Well, before I start, so I don't know if anybody knows Nate's background. He's in 9th grade. He goes to Kiski. He obviously does all this with his channel, but he also ran the huddle system for our football team this year. We got a new coach. He talked to him. So Nate kind of set everything up for huddle. Put up the end zone camera, ran the camera up in the press box during the game. Got all the headsets ready for the coaches. Got the iPads on the field ready for them. So I just want to, great job, buddy. So I just want to start with that. And then this bracket, I don't know, I'm kind of a homer with it because it's our classification here. And number 1 Pine Richland versus number 8 Shaler. They're in the same conference. Pine Richland beat them pretty good week 10. Pine Richland, God willing, hopefully after they do realignment after this season, is in 6A where they should be. But we'll see what happens. But I'm picking Pine Richland this year. And then I'm going to go to Peters versus Bethel. Again, they're in the same conference also, or section, however you want to call it. And Peters just beat Bethel at Bethel, week 10, Bethel senior night. I'm going to guess that's when it was. They blanked them 35-0. Probably looking at the same result. I mean, they'll probably win by 3 or 4 touchdowns. I'm picking Peters. And then Penn Trafford, 4th seed against Moon. Penn Trafford, I forgot the look. Penn Trafford beat Moon 25-24. There was something towards the end of that happened in that game, but PT beat them earlier in the season. And then Penn Trafford's only loss was to Woodland Hills. And I like John Ruane, so I'm picking Penn Trafford. So that'll be a Pine versus Penn Trafford game, which I think would be worth heading out to next week. And then on the other side, you got Woodland Hills, the 3 seed against Upper St. Clair. This should be a good game. You know, Upper St. Clair's only losses were to Moon by 7 in overtime, and they lost to Peters by 4. But then Woody High, they lost to North Allegheny 28-26, which is 6A. And then they played Central also in 6A. They lost to them 58-20, but that game was actually out in Canton, Ohio at the Hall of Fame. So, it was cool they traveled for all that. But Woody High has Scoop Smith, so I am picking Woody High.
Yeah, and that will wrap up.
Well, Cam Walters, too. That's a good quarterback.
Cam Walters, yeah, he is a very good quarterback. That wraps it up for tonight's WPIAL bracket show. Definitely something to keep out for. The thing that does suck about it is if you are looking to tune into the games this Friday, you will have to pay for NFHS because it's all paying. Or the Trib might have a radio broadcast on there for free, but again, they do select schools, so you'd have to see. But yeah, that about wraps it up tonight. Halloween edition, so take it in while it lasts because, well, Halloween was this Friday. It's a few days late, but who cares? Thanks for coming on. You'll be here next week, but we'll be back down in the studio where it's nice and warm. But yeah, we thank you for tuning in, and we will catch you next time.
See ya.